Venue trouble continues for the Oakland Roots. We break down Johnny Infantino's viral meltdown, and we check on what's going on during and after the World Cup at the Rio Grande Valley. That and more on today's edition of Morning Kickaround. Welcome and good morning. This is Morning Kickaround, the show that dots the map of the ever-changing American soccer landscape. My name, Robert Kerr, local soccer guy and guy, hoping that his power doesn't turn off during the show. And to my side, Jason Davis, radio soccer guy. How you feeling?
Right before the show started, or right before we got our show together this morning, Rob's like, "Oh, I just got a text. They're going to turn my power off at 10 a.m. Eastern." That's not ideal when you're doing a live YouTube broadcast such as Morning Kickaround, Rob.
Yeah,
great.
We need power to do this show for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part we do. Let's see. Well, let's see. We have a countdown going. We have 29 minutes. We should probably hurry up and get to the business at hand. Shout out to all of our ultras this morning, everybody who supports us. First through the door, Leandering. Good stuff there. Homeless Shoe is here. Armando, Tulsa Mario, Bill, Jeff, Angus, Mike T. I play French horn. Bernardo, I think was an ultra maybe at one point. Anyway, John Stark. Did I say hi to John? I don't remember. Mountain to CFC Dwayne, Riverside Grove, Soccer Night in Detroit. Let's see, Matt. I already said I'm scrolling. Callan is here as well. Callan Reese is here. Chris is here. Arribas Las Chivas is here.
More coming.
TRXP the Great is here. Callan Reese has gifted us a membership. Thank you very much. Always great to have that. Let's go ahead and hit that old clanger over there one time.
Hey.
It's a very
Jenny's
loud
got
clanger
that turned
this
up to 11 this morning.
Yeah, we got that on hot is what that is. Shout out to Callan Reese. Thank you to everybody who supports the show. If you want to support the show, become a member. If you're not already a member, become an ultra, get access to the Discord and all the stuff that's going on over there. Also maybe give a membership, a free one. I mean, a gift one, the way that Callan Reese did. If you really want to support the show, spread the word, tell people that we're here doing the clanging and dotting the map and things of that nature.
Yes, shout out to all the MK Ultras. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Our membership keeps on growing, which is very encouraging for us on this side of the show. And big shout out to Bill. Met him up at the USL2 conference championship game. He drove all the way from Peoria, Illinois, up to Flint, Michigan. So I figured I'd make the 45-minute trek or so and have an MK meetup. Unfortunately, hopefully that ride home wasn't too disappointing as Flint went on to dominate that game, and then they won again Sunday. So USL2 national championship next Friday, back up in Flint again. Vermont Green making the trip over there, and we've had some good discussions in the Morning Kickaround Discord server about the weekend's activities in the summer league postseason stuff. And there's plenty of lively activity at MLS as well. But yeah, thank you for supporting the show. Plenty on today's episode. We're going to check in on the Rio Grande Valley Red Crowns with a returning guest, friend of the show, Jamal, talking a little bit if they got a World Cup bump and kind of how that might have affected it and their season in general and what's going on in the league for clubs. Well, we've been
what's it like to star in a Bank of America commercial that runs during the World Cup? We got to ask Jamal about that.
Yeah, I got to look that up too. Did he look good in it? Did he have much FaceTime?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those like, hey guys, we're running down the tunnel to the field, and then it's it's a voiceover. Jamal, the one I saw was in Español because it was on Telemundo, but I'm assuming that was Jamal speaking Spanish about his club, so it was very cool. We'll talk to him about that.
All right. So like I said, great show lined up. And I think before we get to the meat and potatoes of today's show, we have to acknowledge Mr. Bob, 10 gifts. 10. I think that's clang worthy as well.
Oh,
right,
absolutely. There. Can we get I clang to clang last? There we go.
Hey, clang for Bob. We're all getting clanged here this morning. And thank you for the support. So let's get into it. Support in any which way you can. Let's do Monday's edition of Morning Kickaround. Let's go. Starting the day, updating the story, an ongoing story for the Oakland Roots. On Friday, a story came out that they had a deadline to pay the Coliseum, their venue, and checking in on the news. What's going on with Oakland Roots and paying their bills?
Yeah, not great there, Mr. Kerr. This is what we got from the Mercury News out there in the Bay Area. Update on the story we told you Friday that the Oakland Roots were in default on their $1.4 million rent payment for the Oakland Coliseum. And look, just to sort of frame this up, obviously lots of our ultras and viewers and listeners will have heard us talk about this on Friday. But if you're kind of new to this, the Oakland Roots have been around for a while, right? They've done a good job creating a bond with their community. In fact, they kind of stand out as an example of how to build a community-based professional soccer club in America. Founded back in 2018, building their slowly, and there's a women's team, the Oakland Soul, that they've started, slowly building an identity in Oakland. Remember, Oakland is a place that has lost their football team. They have now lost their baseball team. Their basketball team went across the bay to go play in San Francisco again. So this is a city sort of starved for professional sports that can represent the city of Oakland. And the Roots have done a great job. But just like every professional soccer enterprise in the country, stadium is the problem. So they ended up, they looking for a place to play. They end up in the Coliseum, which is now empty. The city of Oakland wants to have some dates there, fill that venue. It's way too big. We did talk about and celebrate them putting 20,000 in that building to open the season last year. But they're not going to do that every time out. And it costs a lot of money to run a building like that, no matter, how many fans you can put in the building. So with that $1.4 million payment due, this is what we've got. It appears the Roots did submit a plan by the Friday deadline to modify their payment schedule, but Legends Global, who runs the Coliseum, did not agree it was viable. Details of the Roots plans were not immediately clear. Here is a quote from a letter to Roots executives obtained by the Mercury News. Nicole Strange, the general manager of Legend Global, writing, "We have reviewed the terms of your proposal and do not accept them." Wow, that's like straight up. Instead, Legends Global extended its own proposal. The Roots would pay an additional $200,000 for each remaining home game it plays at the Coliseum this season, on top of its regular obligations. And I don't have the schedule in front of me, Rob, but we're willing to bet that's about $1 million at the very least. Team executives would need to submit the first of those payments by noon on Wednesday. And then there's a note about team officials kind of, not commenting, declining to elaborate, citing preparations for Saturday's game. So reporters went to the executives of the Roots on Saturday when they were getting ready to play and said, "What's going on?" And they were like, "Well, we're actually going to play a game, so we don't want to talk about it right now."
Oof.
Man, this is, I don't want to bury the Roots because I don't know exactly what the details are here behind the scenes, but none of this sounds good, Rob. And we can't lose the Roots, just like we can't lose any team that has established itself at all when it comes to American soccer, especially at this level.
Yeah, to further your point, Oakland Roots have had some really high water points in their history and have really done well, like you said, with almost all the aspects of building a community-based club, except for the venue. They've put those roots into the community, so to speak, but not with a permanent venue. And we've detailed on this show in the past of all the different stops and plans they've had to do. But it is so from someone who I've had a past of following up on debts and whatnot. And if someone who owes you money has an unacceptable payment plan on one day, usually doesn't follow that up with a successful payment plan 3 to 4 days later. And that's a really bad sign. And in the deflection of conversation, like you said, that they said, "Oh, we have a game, we can't really address this right now." Not being an open communicator while you're in the midst of a debt situation is also a bad sign, because if you are able to come up with a solution readily, you'd be able to present that at that time. And whether this is the Coliseum ownership group being unreasonable with the number that they're asking a minor league soccer team, that's a conversation. But apparently this is what they agreed to. So this would open the door to, is this bad business practices from a USL championship team?
I mean, that's, again, the margins are so fine, or you're in the red, right? And again, if you're in the red, somebody has to be willing to eat that loss, right? That's the problem with American soccer, is that everything is out ahead. Now, lots of businesses work this way, right? Lots of businesses operate in
work through debt
until the day comes when the money comes flowing in, right? So you're like, oh, we have investors and they gave us $100 million of startup funds, and you're obviously spending that before you bring in revenue. And in some cases, I mean, this is so funny that this is happening around the corner from Silicon Valley and where all these companies launch. And it's like, what is your profit proposition? They're like, we don't really have one. We're just like, we have a cool idea. $1 billion valuation. I was like, wait, what? We don't know how they're going to make money yet. $1 billion valuation. And here is, again, professional sports. The standards to which it's held are obviously very different. And so occasionally somebody will dump a lot of money into a professional sports team on the idea that it will gain value, that they'll earn equity in the value of the franchise. That's happened in MLS. But a lot of times it's just, you only can eat so much red ink before you have to shut down. Now, again, what's fascinating to me about the Oakland stories, it's come to this, and this seems very dark and very problematic, and it could end the Oakland Roots if they don't have a place to play. I mean, at least they would have to go, they have to be suspended in terms of their operations. How many times have we seen clubs come back from suspended operations, Rob? Does that happen very often?
Very, very few. And I think that the biggest example, if it comes to fruition, which it seems, will be Oklahoma City, right? If they are able to come full circle,
but I don't even think that
biggest
counts.
story. But yes, 99% of all the ones that we're going on hiatus, this isn't the end.
Right now,
so far.
Right, I remember Rochester, hiatus, they're coming back. Harrisburg City Islanders, the hiatus, they're coming back. In Raleigh, North Carolina FC, plans to come back. All right, well, we'll see.
Oh, no, you're not wrong. There might be an example to buck that trend, but you're mostly right. If you're going to stop, you usually don't kickstart it back.
The reason I bring up what I have here, this is an old bit of information about the Roots plan. Back when we were highlighting their very audacious idea of building a soccer stadium at Howard Terminal in Oakland. I'll come to that in a second because Mike put it in the chat. Couldn't they just play at a high school? That completely depends on whether or not USL can get a waiver for one of their top-level teams to play in a venue that probably does not meet the professional league standards of U.S. soccer. That's not something that we can say yes or no to. Like, obviously, there needs to be a plan if they can't play at the Coliseum. I don't know what the other options are. Remember, they were pitching a modular stadium in the parking lot of their training facility because of this Coliseum issue while they work. And I know this is probably on hold, and this came up on Friday when we talked about it, while they work on this plan. So here is, okay, so this is the interim plan. The Roots soccer match is a fan capacity of 8,000, 20 to 24 times a year, right? This is the interim usage for this thing. Now, they would also give other people access to this, probably to cut some costs. This is from, I'm going to butcher his name, Edris Argandiwal. We're always exploring all of our options at the club. It's important for us to create a club that's sustainable. They've been talking about this since day one. That will be here for 100 plus years for Oakland and the surrounding community. We're currently at Oakland Coliseum. We've created an amazing game day environment. The options are there for us to continue to explore. Our training facility is one of them. There are other options as well, and our longer-term options are still in the mix. I mean, it's like, oh, we got so many options. And here we are. Here's the long-term plan. This is the Howard Terminal, I think, Port of Oakland. They wanted to remain, as this goes back a ways, right? Because we were trying to catch up on what they were doing. Here's the plan that they produced. Here's the rendering they produced about the stadium they want to build. And it's like the difference. I'm not saying that this is crazy because I don't know what's going on with them in terms of, and I think this is on hold, et cetera, et cetera. The gap between we might get kicked out of the Coliseum, So we're rushing to try to figure out a temporary venue, modular venue with 8,000 seats. And this thing is insane, right? Just in terms of like what that is versus what this is. And again, right now, this is just an idea.
There's a big gap between modular stadium and a parking lot playing at a high school and those pictures that you just put on there. And that's the difference, though, right? My understanding of what the investment conglomerate that is investing in MLS Next Pro seems to be using their private equity superpowers to make way to get the real estate and get the buildings built. Are the private equity overlords that have invested in USL, are they helping their teams do these and follow through on these visions? Because ultimately, the Oakland Roots would be a team that you'd love to have in your inaugural USL Premier launch, right? And if they can't even pay their bill or they're unable to pay their bills at their current venue, that the gap between now and when Premier happens, you got to keep these guys alive. And obviously with these millions of dollars of rent, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, imperfect situation, just want to have a soccer team. Nobody wants to just stump up hundreds of millions of dollars to build a stadium right away. By the way, somebody is asking in the chat, who owns the Roots? It's a large group of people. There's a lot of investors in the Roots. They don't have one big money person behind them. And again, this kind of speaks to this community idea. In fact, on their list are people like Jason Kidd, basketball player and coach. Sway Calloway. Do you know Sway Calloway? Radio personality, guy who's been kind of doing hip hop radio stuff for like a very long time. Sway, yeah. He's the only Sway I know of, Rob. Yeah. Marshawn Lynch is in their group. Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day is in their group. G-Eazy is in their group. Gary Payton II, not Gary Payton, Gary Payton II, his kid is in this group. I mean, again, like, none of those people are going to have like $100 million or even $20 million to just drop on the club so they can pay their obligations, right? So
yeah, and I think George, while a little bit of a sidetrack, but ultimately is on the note here with just what we're talking about is investment, the value, the bang per buck overseas and locally.
Well, okay, but here's the thing: what George is saying is probably true. It depends, obviously, on the league and stuff, and this is why USL obviously the ceiling is lower, and so you're convincing people to invest in something that has a lower return. But it's worth pointing out that Rob and Ryan and their investors spent a crazy amount of money at Wrexham after they bought that club to get them where they are. And there was no guarantee of them getting where they are. Now, obviously they did it. So it's survivorship bias, right? It all looks great. Oh, we bought a club for $2 million. Now it's worth $350 because we're on the verge of maybe making the Premier League. Sure. Obviously pro rel is not a thing here. So we don't have that. But that thing of they also spent, I don't know the numbers on Wrexham. But my guess is they are into that club, even with the valuation of $350. They are into that club for half of that, maybe 30% of that at the very least, right? So buy the club for $2 million and spend another $15, $20, $30 million, $100 million. Yeah, making it so you can compete at that level. Maybe I'm overstating the amount of money they're into it for, but it's significantly more than $2 million, right? Whatever it is, it's significantly more than $2 million.
And it's it brings up the valuation. That's the anti-pro rel conversations. Like you can't rely on your valuation because you might slip down the leagues, but you could also think the other side is that 2 million and then plus the more millions they've invested afterwards, because there's the potential golden ticket of moving upward. It's the
yes. Well, and look, I mean, and Mike's talking about the TV show. Obviously, that has that's an element to that story that is not replicable. And that's the thing. Like people want to say, oh, we should just do what England does, and then we'll have Wrexham stories. Well, not really.
To be fair, I think Wrexham isn't a formula. It's the unicorn of that story, right? But wouldn't Marshawn Lynch builds a soccer team be fascinating reality television?
Sure, put Marshawn Lynch on my TV talking soccer, and I'm in. Yeah, I don't like, and I'm sure all this stuff has been pitched somewhere, somehow.
Sure,
and like that, but that can't be the like. That's the thing. Like as fun as that is, and as much as you want to look at a Wrexham story and say, why don't we have that here in America? That can't be the way we build soccer out in America. That is not replicable 15, 20, 30, 50 times, right? We need to find a way to have a club. And again, some of this is that people get too ambitious too quickly. Some of this is getting out over your skis and finding yourself out of control. And next thing you know, NASL 2.0 dies, right? And this private equity money is both intriguing and exciting, but also worrying in the sense that it could very easily turn into that, where it's like, well, we got to justify all this, we're going to justify this investment. We're going to go big. Okay, well, if you go big too fast and you don't have the structures in place to handle things, then this is what now again, we don't know about the Roots, and Marcus is saying that this is overblown, which I definitely I want to be careful here. I'm not saying the Roots are shutting down. I'm not saying the Roots are getting kicked out of the Coliseum. What I'm saying is the only reporting we have is that they owe $1.4 million and don't have a plan to pay it back. More than likely, what happens here, because Legends, whatever, and the city of Oakland probably don't want that building sitting empty and getting nothing for it. They'll negotiate a deal. Maybe it's pennies on the dollar. Maybe it's not. Maybe Oakland Roots have to owe money later. Maybe there's some other agreement reached. We don't know.
We've got Jamal from the Rio Grande Valley Red Crowns at the top of the hour. Before that, we're going to talk presidential meltdowns here on Morning Kickaround. Welcome back in Morning Kickaround. Next up, World Cup story. So World Cup coverage is brought to you by Oakland County Football Club, who just rounded out celebrating their 10th season of summer soccer in Southeast Michigan 2026. Visit Oakland County FC online for lots of shoulder content. And our All Goals episode on YouTube is coming out. So a lot of excited Rob Kerr on that. But Johnny Infantino had a bit of a defensive reaction to what he thought the world's reaction to World Cup 2026 was all about. We've got a whole big slideshow. I heard about this tirade, but this is the first time reading it or hearing it. So I'm excited to see what all the hullabaloo of Mr. Infantino's tirade was all about.
Johnny got in his feelings. He got upset that people were being mean to him. How dare you be mean to Johnny Infantino? Don't you know he blessed North America with the greatest sporting event known to mankind? I'm not going to read every single one of these slides because there are 15 of them. 15 of them.
Of his post.
On his post, 15 slides. See how he started with that tableau or whatever they did on the field at MetLife Stadium for the final. Love, right? We're gonna tell you that soccer is that the World Cup is good and FIFA is good by putting love on the field, and everybody will be happy because it says love. Now, just to give you a taste of this, especially if you're listening via podcast later, to everyone who missed our beautiful game, he writes, the emotion, celebrations, the laughter, the crying, the deception.
That's a weird one. That's weird. It doesn't get through the first paragraph and it's already weird.
Why is deception in there? And the joy. To all of you missed watching kids, babies, grandparents, and parents come together for the beautiful game, I say sorry that the matches are now over, and sorry that you missed all the joy and togetherness. Sorry that you were so consumed by hate and criticism that you missed it all, is what Johnny writes. Again, look at this. It's nuts. He then goes after everybody he sees as, a keyboard warrior. To those behind their pens and papers, behind their screens, spreading hate and false rumors. What false rumors were spread? I want to say that while you are sitting behind, we at FIFA are on the front lines, organizing, working hard, and delivering the best show in the world. While you hide, we are exploring the streets of Canada, Mexico, and the United States, talking with fans, engaging with people, and ensuring everyone's safety. While you divide, Rob Kerr, we unite. Give me a thought here.
I would say this is a touch defensive, and you can tell who he's been spending time with.
Yeah, I think this is always who he was, but there's definitely it does feel like that, right? We don't need to name names. We experienced no violence, he says, no incidents, 100% safety and security, only joy and happiness.
Everyone's happy all the time, for sure. And that's
sure. Nobody was, you know what didn't happen?
Iran was really happy.
Lots of people weren't arrested by a certain agency while the World Cup was giving them cover to do it. That didn't happen. 7 million people from over 200 countries enjoyed the tournament across 16 fantastic cities and stadiums. 0 incidents, Zero hostility, zero violence, just joy, emotions, happiness, together, unity, and togetherness. Okay, yeah, sure. He talks about billions watching at home.
Well, not only while it was a very positive and there was lots of scenes of joy, you can't color it with all of one single brush. And it probably wasn't due to FIFA that all those good things happened, really.
No, I mean, that's the thing. What he's writing about is the thing that the people did, not the thing that FIFA did. FIFA did not do this. The game did this, right? It's just something that Johnny wants to take credit for. He wants to ascribe to FIFA responsibility for the fact that people enjoyed themselves at the World Cup. And that's not what happened. He talks about billions watching at home. Virtually all global celebrities, from music, movie, entertainment, and sports, every global virtually all.
Everyone.
Enjoying the event, spending times with fans. Yeah, we know. You showed them via your world feed every 5 seconds, Johnny. Thank you for that. We were like, look, there's going to be a goal scoring opportunity. Oh my God, that's Javier Bardem. Did you see that? That's Javier Bardem in this.
And the hot girl in the front row of the section in front of
well, that too. All of this was made possible thanks to the governments of the 3 host countries and their tremendous contributions. Thanks to FIFA and its fantastic team working for you. Thanks to the host countries and all the people, the police forces and their incredible commitment, and the volunteers. Oh, the volunteers, Rob.
The volunteers, dude.
By the way, why does FIFA, which has billions of dollars at its disposal, need volunteers, Rob?
That's a really good question, because some OCFC interns actually went and volunteered down there. They said they had a great time, but they worked them hard. And the only time they were allowed to stay in the stadiums for games was like one of the few early ones that didn't have sellouts. So and sellout crowds, they literally like told them to leave the premises.
That's crazy. What? Okay. He goes on. It gets dark. It was like, oh, lightness and happiness. And now while they celebrated, you were busy planting seeds of hate. Hate. Our world needs love, not hate. Tolerance, not division. Celebration, not mourning. Okay. While you spread hatred, we worked tirelessly to unite 2 countries at war. Okay, here we go. Man. Iran entered the United States without incident or conflict. When the Iranian team began playing, all the chants against them turned into a single song. I mean, it's like he's talking like the World Cup was a Disney movie, Rob. The fans became the country. They became the team. They stood behind Team Melly. It's not about politics. Football is about unity, not division. Football is bigger than hate and discrimination. That part is true. But again, not because of you, Johnny. And not because of the government of the United States of America, which did the absolute bare minimum it could for the Iranian national team, right? Who made sure to make them uncomfortable at every turn. Yes, you let them play in the United States of America. Are we supposed to be like, oh, thank you, government of the United States, for letting the team representing the country that you attacked and started a war with play in America? You're so magnanimous. Government.
Yeah, and by intimidation, making them leave immediately after matches to fly home without any rest. Yeah, totally. That's great.
He talks about visas countries facing. Obviously, there was with the outbreak of what was it? There was an outbreak in Africa. It was Ebola. But teams competing and fans cheering filled millions of people back home with hope, if only for a moment, worth eternity, with joy and pride. You mentioned the few people denied visa. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, how dare you mention the people denied visas and overlook the millions who came in, Rob? Millions?
So did he stop like having his daily private jet flight for the first time in like 5-6 weeks, and then he finally caught up with like some news from around the world or some recaps from journalists around the world when they've come home? Yeah. And he just finally was like, wait a minute, not every single person loved me in an absolution.
It's so crazy. It's like, hey, we look at all the people that didn't die. Don't talk about the dead ones. Talk about all the people who didn't die. Again, this is like, and I know that's being dramatic, but the point is like, you're saying everybody talking about the visas denied are wrong for talking about why were any visas denied for the World Cup?
Yeah, that World Cup level referee from Africa certainly, doesn't probably have great things to say about you, sir.
We're about like a minute away from your power probably going out, Rob. I just want to point that out to everybody. If Rob disappears, it's because Rob's power was turned off. We're waiting on Jamal too, and as soon as he joins us, we'll move on from Johnny. But He talks about the refereeing decisions. What you mean, God, man? This is what's the Streisand effect stuff, right? On some level, like I mean, no, we're all talking about it, but when you go with this, the defensive crouch, and like try to clap back on every argument made against you, it's not good. It's worse. It makes it worse, right? It says, okay, so it says indeed, and then in quotes, arguable referees' decisions, or in quotes, strange disciplinary rulings, such as, for instance, potentially mistaken red or yellow cards, or subsequent decisions not to ban players in certain situations, are routinely and widely accepted in some of the biggest leagues in the world.
Okay, so that's hilariously pointed. The suspensions thing is just so hilariously
just
pointed.
flat out say Balagun. Just flat out say the United States of America. Just flat out say it, Johnny. All right. Anyway, he say, you do this. Why are you complaining about it? Countries that are complaining. Anyway, there's a lot more. Look at all these slides. Actually, I think this is the last one I have. So, and he talks about being proud. So, Johnny Infantino can't keep his mouth shut.
He's reiterating. I saw a stand-up comedian on social media with a great joke that the World Cup is so great that despite every effort in the world, FIFA can't mess it up.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah. All right. Our guest is waiting in the wings, so we're going to check in on Rio Grande Valley Red Crowns next up here on Morning Kickaround. Welcome back in Morning Kickaround. Very pleased to welcome our guest, Jamal Fayyad from the RGV Red Crowns, participating in the league for clubs. Had a very successful season and a late playoff run. Wanted to see what's going on there at the southern border on and off the field. And you're a commercial star, too. Wanted to say congrats on that.
Yeah, star should be used very loosely if we want to say that. Thanks for having me back.
I've never been in an ad for a major international bank, Jamal. Come on, that's huge, man. That's massive. How was that?
It was nuts. I mean, one, just the economic impact to the community. Bank of America set out. We had an agreement on what we would love to have focused and captured on the spot, and my only ask was to keep everything local. From getting the extras, getting all the what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry,
like the crew and stuff, like everybody who made the commercial.
The crew, or? But I'm so like soccer. I want to say merch. There's another word for it.
It's all right. Sorry,
but anyway. Props. That's what I'm looking for.
There you go.
Props were made locally. Everything truly was done locally. So much so there was about a $1.5 million dollar impact in the local economy in just about 4 days, from hotel stays to the staff eating every single night. I mean, they employed about over 600 locals just to be extras in this spot. So initially, when they approached us, I was supposed to go to LA to shoot with David Beckham. And I was just like, yeah, let's do it. And then one of the producers mentioned, like, I think this would be more impactful if we went to the Rio Grande Valley. And I mean, they did. And I couldn't have asked. I knew meeting David Beckham would have been great, but I couldn't have asked for a better way to start off and kick off our season with this spot, what it did for a lot of people. One of the extras in the commercial, she's a barista. She told me that because of that spot, because of the extra cash she got, she was able to do her study abroad session in Spain. She was able to purchase her first car. So it was really cool that, they kept it local and kind of showed, kind of matched our motto and just, keeping everything local here in the Rio Grande Valley. So we couldn't be more proud.
That is killer. That is amazing. I was so thrilled. I was watching my World Cup in Espanol on Telemundo, Jamal, and I'm like, hey, I know that guy, or at least I've talked to that guy. I don't know if we're like that, Jamal, but I was like, I know that guy. That's awesome. Oh. Now, and the thing about it is, like, we can talk about the impact of the World Cup on your club, and it's going to tie a lot to what Bank of America did for you. But I mean, obviously, this is a huge thing for everybody. That soccer kind of, in our part of the world, right? And you're in a part of the world where the culture of the game is probably it's deeper maybe in some other parts of America, but how has the World Cup impacted Red Crowns and sort of the outlook for community-based clubs like yours?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. To your point, I think it was the perfect storm. And I remember launching last year. It may have been too soon, but I want it to be established for this year for the World Cup. I mean, I had no idea we were going to have a commercial, but I knew that soccer fever was going to be alive and well. So, to your point, the Valley is encompassed of 37 cities or towns that make the Rio Grande Valley, and each town had their own World Cup event, and each World Cup event was packed. From McAllen, that drew in 5,000 to 8,000 people each Mexico game. Brownsville, the city of Brownsville, Visit Brownsville, had an event that brought in a few thousand. Harlingen, where we play out of, had watch parties for both USA and Mexico. And to add on top of all the restaurants, all the bars, everyone did something involving the World Cup. And we decided as a staff not to do anything ourselves, but to show love to everybody else who was doing something, because so much was going on. And so, just being where we're at, having the soccer community and even those outside of it all together at once, we just wanted to take advantage of it. And so I think you raised a lot of eyebrows. You got people who didn't know we existed. We had people who just didn't know much about the sport. And this, I don't know if it was because, all the games were in prime time and just having the World Cup in your own backyard. But this year, or this World Cup, felt different. And I've been watching since I could remember the 98 World Cup. But something about this year and the people that got invested into the sport, it felt different than ever before.
Yeah, it certainly did. There's definitely conversations and people in the mix with the sport that we didn't see necessarily as interested and is genuinely interested. I know there was a week where United States was, after they won against Bosnia, local sports talk stations that never talk soccer across the country were talking about it in a more earnest manner than we'd ever seen it ever really before. But you mentioned last year you launched, this is your second year. So yeah, is there some things you can point at anecdotally and even data driven from year one to year two for the Red Crowns?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we did have growth year one, year two. We beat all of our attendance marks that we were trying to hit. Funny story. Well, first and foremost, before I get ahead of myself, Jason, I'm an ultra, man. We're family at this point.
All right, good. I like Jamal. I love it, brother. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no. So, first, I knew whenever the commercial would run, because our team store, we would just get like 8, 9, 10 online orders immediately, and all from out of the area. So we shipped in 38 states this year, merchandise. We also shipped in about 8 different countries. We shipped in Brazil, England, France, Lithuania. We had 2 Lithuanian players, but as much as I love the international sales, we actually lost money because I didn't realize how expensive international shipping was. But not my favorite, but we'll take it. But anyway, we grew about 40% in merchandise sales from last year, and our attendance, we had 2 games that we sold over 1,600 tickets, which was our marquee number that we were trying to hit. So we did that twice. And attendance in general was up about 30% as it was last year. And keep in mind, last year was launching, first ever. There was excitement behind that. So to beat those numbers, we were really proud and really excited about it.
So, we just spent some time talking about a professional team in Oakland who's got a stadium issue, right? Their problem is they want to be getting 5,000-10,000 people out. They need a place to play. They got to meet all these standards, and it costs a lot of money to operate their venue. So you're talking about you losing money because you had to pay for international shipping. Obviously, you're not spending $1 million on your venue, Jamal. But in terms of like what it looks like to level up, and you talked about getting out ahead of yourself a little bit because the World Cup was important to getting attention for soccer. How do you? I think obviously from talking to you, I think you're pretty clearly a level-headed guy. But one thing I think in American soccer we've got is a lot of people who get very excited about trying to get going too fast. Is that something you think about? Like, just like if somebody came to you and said, "Hey, I really like what you're doing. We're going to give you a bunch of money to do X, Y, or Z." Is that always a good thing?
No, I think, me personally, and thank you for calling me level-headed. I think some would disagree with me, but I'd love to jump. If we could be pro right now, we'd be pro right now. I think I was on that side of things here in the Rio Grande Valley with the RGV Toros, and it doesn't always work, right? I think one thing we want to do is if we are going to make that jump, we want to do it with our fans in mind, with their input, just the same way we launched our brand. So we are having these discussions now, and we're asking our season ticket holders, like, hey, you're paying so much for a season ticket. You're having a great time. It's all local vendors. It's local athletes playing on the field, majority. But if we were to jump, this all would change. Your season ticket would double, maybe even triple. The roster would look entirely different. I don't know if we would have 5 local guys. That $6 beer that you really like, that's going to be a $15 beer. So I think if we were going to make any jump, we would get our fan base's input first. One thing we did behind the scenes, we don't really talk about this, but we made sure to put a plan in place that we are able to make that jump. So our stadium allows us to make that jump to the pro ranks if needed. Essentially what I wanted to build when we launched the Red Crowns was a turnkey product. If somebody with those kind of pockets did want to go pro or take this pro for the Rio Grande Valley, the market is a market that MLS wants to be in, MLS Next Pro, USL want to be in. USL have been talking to Brownsville about bringing a club back. It's a strong market in itself, but then you also have the Mexican market right across the border that we kind of forget about. So altogether, you have over 1.8 million folks between the two borders. There's a lot of travel. There's a lot of economic movement between the Reynosa, Matamoros cities in Mexico and McAllen, Brownsville, Harlingen. So I think from an investor standpoint, it makes sense. But to your point, there's so many stories of the venue. It was just too expensive. We had these numbers we had to hit. So we made sure that we have everything in place if we want to make that jump, but we won't make that jump if the fan base doesn't want it either. There's no point in being a pro team and you're getting, 300-400 people a game. So we really covered our tracks there and made sure that we are ready to make that jump, but it doesn't happen if community doesn't say so.
Yeah, so in a bit of a get to know your district sort of a question, we discussed your venue more specifically the first time you were on, but could you kind of paint the picture for newer listeners about kind of the history of soccer? Like you mentioned the Toros and then where you stepped in, and because you're not playing in the same venue as they were playing in, right?
No, so our venue, we played Harlingen Field. It was a minor league baseball stadium that was built in 1950. They were an affiliate to the New York Giants, or Brooklyn Giants, excuse me. And baseball was played there up until the early 2000s. 99, 2000 was the last time it was used for a full baseball season. When we took over, it was abandoned. Not much was going on. I think some high school games had maybe taken place there, but the structure was still solid. We went to the city and we just asked, hey, we want to turn this into a soccer pitch. I'm a big snob myself, so we cleared what was left of a diamond. We planted new grass. We put soccer goals up, and I love it because, as y'all mentioned, we're in a very strong soccer cultured market here. And so for a lot of these and especially the Mexican fan base, the Liga MX fan base, if they come to our game and they see football lines or they see goalposts, they're immediately turned off. And what I love about our venue is you come in and this looks familiar. This looks like a soccer pitch. So it is truly a soccer pitch now. Think of the Tampa Bay Rowdies, AV Alta. We look at both of those clubs a lot when we're looking at fixing up our venue. But it's in the heart of the Rio Grande Valley. We're smack dab in the middle. We're in between Brownsville and McAllen, so we try to capture the entire Rio Grande Valley, where the Toros were in the northern part of the valley, McAllen, Edinburgh area. But we had a USL championship team, the RGV Toros. That was the first taste of professional soccer we had here in the valley. They dissolved after 4 or 5 years of launching. And then in between all of that, we've had semi-pro clubs in the past. We've had semi-pro clubs throughout the valley. We've had semi-pro clubs just in one city of the valley. So we knew that if we were going to launch, we wanted to do things different. And I think where we do things different than most clubs is we're not, wins and losses matter, and especially in the thick of the season, it's really important for us. But we focused on community first. The soccer was secondary when we launched, but now that we're launched, we're in motion. Now we're really focused on the soccer aspect. So much so that our next big voyage is going to be the Open Cup, and so we're really excited about that. We're excited about the excitement from the fan base, not knowing what Open Cup was 2 weeks ago. And now people are asking us, like, when did the qualifiers start? When is round one of the tournament? So we're really excited. We felt like it was our responsibility to kind of educate folks on lower league soccer in America. And we feel like we haven't only educated them, but we've created this appetite for lower league soccer with help of the World Cup, of course.
Yeah.
And that's a great point there. I was actually going to ask you about and like getting to know the area. They're down there. There's some history. There's some potential other teams popping up. Like, is the population down there keen to support local? Like you said, if you have baseball set up or football lines, that's like a barrier. And only a few people are able to like cast that like line blindness and just like, look past that, enjoy the soccer. But that is kind of a barrier for a lot of folks. But in general, are people willing to, like, maybe they have a Mexican league team? Like, does there seem to be a growing openness to look in the backyard to support their team that's from their town?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, our motto has been locally focused. So last year we had 4 guys go pro. This year we have 2 or 3 guys that might be making that jump.
Hey.
And so folks see that, and they see that there is talent here in their backyard. We just want to be that team that cultivates it and sends it out to the rest of the world. So folks are seeing that. Folks are seeing that, lower league soccer in this country is growing, and they're seeing some of these exciting matches. I know last night we had the League for Clubs final. The USL2 had their semifinals. People are watching that, and they're seeing that there is really good soccer out there at this level. It is a tough market. While the population is there, we're also the poorest 2 counties in the country. So costs, we keep that in mind with everything we do. We have to make it affordable. We have bills to pay ourselves. So it's a very, coming through with our budget, it was very strategic on where we focus, and some things maybe we undercharge purposely. But, there's an appetite there. It's a growing community. The university here, UTRGV, took over the soccer pitch that the Toros played in. And I mean, they were getting 12,000 folks a game, 12,000 folks a game. So I truly believe, back to, doing things, being genuine, authentic, and with intent, people will see that, people will gravitate towards that. And I believe they'll feel comfortable spending their dollars with us.
Oh, that's great to hear, and interesting that you're kind of catering to the situation or the area that you're in, and that's quite notable. You said the poorest 2 counties in the entire country, so you have to price accordingly. Is there a lot of like grassroots access? This is a little bit off topic, but is there a lot of grassroots access to soccer, like for the youth and whatnot in the area that? Like the younger generation is getting involved.
One day there's a Red Crowns Academy, right? That's got to be part of the dream.
Yeah, I mean, we would love to be in that business, but where we're at now, being grassroots, being Division 4 soccer, it doesn't really make sense for us because there's so much. We would just be another pawn in that game. There's so much effort when it comes to these academies, to these teams, to these efforts. One thing that we're really focused on is making it more accessible to folks. Pay to play has been the popular subject since the World Cup. So we're trying to think of ways to allow kids who maybe aren't able to afford it, to allow them to play on a team and kind of get that feeling. The other thing that I've been really excited about, and I've been pushing these guys, and I want to be a resource myself. A lot of the school districts here locally have adopted soccer into their elementary curriculum. So there's after-school programs in elementary and middle school for soccer. So each elementary school will have their soccer club, and then they meet on Saturdays and they play. So I've talked to
love that.
I can tell you, Jamal, because tie it back into what we started with. So obviously I caught your commercial. Very excited to see Jamal on TV, but on the radio, Bank of America bought a bunch of time on SiriusXM FC. So I was constantly doing ad reads for Bank of America. One of the things that they are doing, and look, I'm not trying to make big banks sound great. If I'm sure not everything they do is awesome, but they helped you guys. Soccer in schools is like a thing that they're pushing. So that's clearly like, let's use the schools to get kids introduced to this game.
Yeah, so it's happening with one of our school districts. I mentioned that commercial actually. Same thing, you know, I was probably not the easiest guy to deal with because of our image. We don't want to be corporate. We since day one said we're not corporate, and then here I am on a Bank of America commercial. But to your point, I loved what they were pushing with the school after school stuff. And that's one thing I'm pushing with our school districts when we speak with them. If they can adopt this program, I really think that is step one in changing the game here in the U.S., making it affordable, making it accessible. So we reached out to one of the school districts and we said, hey, we have these relationships. Let me help you guys get jerseys for these kids. Right now, they're just using T-shirts. Like one team is a white T-shirt, the other team's a blue T-shirt. I was like, let me help these kids like feel special when they play for you guys on the weekend. So that's something we're working on next year is finding partners and collaborators and providing jerseys for these programs. But the way my jaw dropped when I heard about this, because I truly think this is something very significant, not just for this area, but if the rest of the country can adopt this and stop making it so, you know, transactional for kids to play, I think we're headed in the right direction finally for this kind of stuff.
Well, that's
Cool.
awesome. I'm running through a brick wall for you in my head here. Very inspiring stuff, because getting the game into schools is one of my things that I want to do, like as a legacy project at some point in my career, is to do something like that. And that's encouraging that there's other folks with that in mind, and that's very cool that you guys are trying to facilitate that as well. And big year 2 for you guys, teams like step by step, growth by growth, and preparing yourself for perhaps a bigger step up next. Can you leave us with one kind of, we talked a little bit of data and some numbers about the growth. Can you give us one anecdote of like your takeaway from year 2?
I mean, tell us about the barista in the commercial. That was a pretty good anecdote, Rob.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, no, but like obviously, I think what Rob is asking you is, how has Red Crowns? How have you seen this kind of impact? You know, the soccer community in your part of the country. I don't know. You have a story you can share?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the barista story, that's one of many that it really affected folks this week, that weekend. They shot inside of a coffee shop, and the coffee shop was reluctant. I'm going to throw some folks under the bus right now. They did a scene. A movie came down to shoot. It was a made for Netflix movie. It was a Christmas movie. I don't remember the name of it, but it dealt with, you know, border issues. And so they shot at the same cafe we did. And I was told later on that the coffee shop was not paid. They had to close down. They brought in talent from LA to shoot the scene. And then when it was finally out, you see it for like 2 seconds. Bank of America came in. Not only did they pay them per day to use the shop, a pretty good amount from my understanding, they hired local baristas to be in the scene. They allowed them to stay open while they shot so that they didn't lose any sales that day. So in between takes, we would stop. People would come in, get their coffee, come right back out. And then there's another point I'm missing there. I think the local cast was all local kids, but you know, when they left, they were like, this was night and day. We had such a bad taste in our mouth of Hollywood, but this was like, they had us in mind. They had our business in mind. They still got earshot done. So it was little things like that really meant a lot. And I think people who maybe didn't really know about the Red Crowns or didn't know our story saw that I'm here pushing for the Rio Grande Valley. I'm pushing for us to be successful, and we spread the love that weekend from this spot, and even after, you know, with these watch parties, everything we've done, we could have held that in house. We could have done our own watch party, but we truly try to help the community, you know, raise up every chance that we get. but we're seeing it on our end. We're seeing it with our ticket sales. We're seeing it with our corporate sponsorships. We're seeing it with our group nights. One of the coffee shops that was featured in that spot did a group night game one, and they brought about 15 of their staff and had a big group night for game one on our season. So it's one of those things that, you help your community and they're going to support you right back. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it in real time. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Great to hear about all the great things that have been happening down there with the Red Crowns. Jamal Fayyad, thank you so much for checking in and letting us know what's going on in the area, and with RGV Red Crowns. Thank you so much.
No, man. Thank you, guys. I tell y'all every time, thank y'all for doing this. We need more storytellers in the sport.
And I gotta get my hands on some gear, because I'm looking at the logo on the hat, Jamal.
The hat is sick.
You guys killed it. You guys killed it with that.
We literally sold out of everything, so much so that we're launching our second styles of hats and the new kits. I'm excited about. We're working on the new kits. So those should launch in about February. Awesome. Really excited for those. And lastly, guys, if no one, or if we have first time listeners here, become an MK Ultra. I can't tell you how many times I check Discord now. I went from not even knowing what Discord was to checking that thing 4 or 5 times a day. So it's awesome. Fun, and if you're a soccer fan, it's for you.
Yeah, appreciate that, Jamal. That's awesome.
Cheers, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. We'll see you in the MK Discord very soon.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Jamal. All right, stick with us, guys. We'll wrap up the show just in a second here. Stick with us here on Morning Kickaround. All right, welcome back here. Morning Kickaround. That was fantastic from Jamal and my power state.
Yeah. By the way, Rob's power company late. They're tardy. The power company.
Who would have thought the power company, the utilities in this country, would mislead me with their information?
I know, right?
How would that have happened? But Jamal kind of stole my thunder. I was going to wrap up the show with how wonderful it is to join channel membership and become an MK Ultra, but he did it for us there.
He did it for us, Jamal. That's so kind of him to do that. I mean, obviously, I don't think he would do that unless he wasn't enjoying his experience as an Ultra, but yeah, shout out to Jamal. Building, I mean, everything, checking all the boxes, right? He's an American soccer fan who supports the growth of the game in the country. He's putting his money where his mouth is, building a community club in South Texas. He's joined the MK Ultras to help spread the word and join in that community and be part of that. I mean, again, we've got a whole channel for people making clubs in America. Like we're becoming a central hub, I think, for people to talk about how do you do this. And obviously every place is different, right? Rio Grande Valley is different from St. Louis, or different from Chicago, or different from some of the. I think we've got an Ultra who's pushing to put a team in Flagstaff in Arizona as well. So yeah,
I think we need to touch on that Flagstaff story a little bit more and talk with our Ultra there about that project and what stage of the project he's in, amongst the many great things to learn up on. And obviously I'm a local soccer guy, so it's been great to share a conversation of everyone's experiences as the summer elites amateur leagues get to their postseason. A lot of people talking about the USL 2 playoff games over the weekend, and then a lot of people really enjoying MLS weekend. There was a lot to take in on all different levels this past weekend. But yeah, MLS for good highlights and bad, coming back on the scene in a certain way.
Yeah. I mean, we're all going through that thing of like adjusting to different kinds of soccer again.
Different kinds of soccer. You're adjusting your lenses here a little bit.
Even the 5-year-old Tiago was sitting with me this morning as I was catching up on some MLS, and he's like, "Why is what's the black country doing? The country that's wearing black?" And I was like, "It's not a country. It's a club. They're not they're not all from the same place. They represent that city, but they're not all from the same." All right, Mr. 5-year-old, time to go to school. It's a little too complicated for me to try to explain to you right now. He just knows, like,
maybe a simplification of just tell them that's their job. The World Cup was a special thing that they got to do for fun or for glory, and these are their job. This is their job teams.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Maybe. Now, look, I'm just loving the fact that a little bit of an awakening happened around the World Cup for him. We're going to try to push that into other kinds of soccer. He's going to probably play some this fall. Because again, we're still dribbling the ball to school every day. So, I mean, I'm loving how soccer has seemed to kind of explode and infuse every bit of my life. I know I'm special because I also work in the business, but man, it's been a great summer. And Jamal's story is such a great. I'm glad it's not just about what does this mean for Major League Soccer, right? And we didn't get to it today, but over at Awful Announcing, there's a column about how the way to capture World Cup attention in America is with the U.S. Open Cup. We'll examine that idea. We'll examine that thought, which is not completely original, but comes from a good place from the writer of that story.
That's one of those things where I agree with, but at the same time, it's like, can you how many times can you pull your hair out about something?
Devil is in the details. What does that exactly mean? If you're talking about putting millions of dollars into it, that's probably not going to happen, right? So, again, we're all very enthusiastic right now. Casuals, the hardcores, everybody is just really excited to see what soccer can be, and that's the World Cup enthusiasm bump, right? Whatever it means for the viewership, ultimately, people are excited to go make things. And Jamal was doing it before the World Cup arrived. Now he's got himself on television. People are eating better because of him and his community, and they've got soccer, and they're pushing into schools. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, that was, like I said, an empowering conversation. I don't know if that's the right term, but definitely encouraging and great to hear all those things, making those team to community connections that are the foundation that you need to be successful if you're in the club creation game. Before we get out, just throwing a couple guys up on screen, Leandering. We're a football nation now. Hell's Real had a tunnel wall. And I was trying to remember, how they were pointing to the locker room and then at the final whistle, they sprinted off. Was that the Club World Cup where there was like a big version of that? I feel like that was the second time I've seen them were like pointing to the locker room, let's go. And then there was a throw.
Maybe. I don't remember. That was last year. I can't remember a whole year ago, Rob. What are you talking about?
There's only been 3,000 games since then. You're right. You're like, did something wild just happen? That was like only a year ago. And Mad Cat, he missed Saturday, and DECFC's winning streak ends. Calinieri's blaming him, perhaps. But amongst the things to get excited about in the MK Discord, and someone, Hilda One, MK Ultra, such a great name. You can become one. Are there any of the gift memberships left, Mr. Bob? And there was an additional one at the beginning of the show.
Seriously doubt it. I'm not in the YouTube. Give me a second. I got to get into the YouTube studio. By the way, while I do this, can we also remind people there's merch for sale? Go buy yourself a Morning Kickaround shirt. Get the logo on there. We got the jerseys. I could go check right now what the inventory is. I have my hands on jerseys, so if you buy one, and maybe we need to check and see if anybody's done that recently. I may have some unfulfilled orders, but if you buy a jersey and we've got that size in stock, I can get it out to you like right now. So if that's something you're interested in, a Morning Kickaround jersey, we got the Vegas Sports Guy's got his framed.
I was going to say he's got his displayed better than I do. I mean, I like to wear mine. I like pull it on and off the rack behind me pretty much ever since what's the first thing you gotta do is Emma's Club. Oh, we're talking about
Open Cup. Open Cup, yeah, that's getting pushed in there. Open Cup,
yeah. I like to wear my jersey, so framing it, I don't necessarily know if that's me, but seeing Vegas Sports Guy with that right behind him in his video was pretty darn cool. And then I gotta say, okay, so the merch is at Fourth Wall, Morning Kickaround at Fourth Wall, and you can access that right here within the channel. There's a tab under the screen here for shop and the
peruse
there. And then so we have to wrap this up in a minute because Jason and I have a couple things to talk about before we go our own ways for the rest of the day. Because Kickathon, we need to pick a Kickathon day. Second ever Kickathon.
Okay. Well, do we need to talk to people about Kickathon?
And the second point, reason I brought it up was the shop. We need part of the things that we like to do in the Discord is do some brainstorming. We've got a couple ideas on new merch for the store, but we might throw that into the Discord as well as for some creative ideas. But yeah, Kickathon date, we need to set that as well.
Okay, yeah, we need to set Kickathon. I will check on anybody who has unfulfilled orders. over at Fourth Wall for the jersey in particular. Let's see if we have any of those in stock. I see John says he bought his 2 weeks ago. With Paul, I'm assuming Paul's talking about the jersey.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's great. Love that. Love people saying, "What is that? What is? Oh, Morning Kickaround. Oh, I gotta check that out."
Yes.
Slowly building our empire here. On
Another
show.
anecdotal thing. No one I knew or was already meeting up with at the Flint versus Peoria game saw the kit and said, "Love the show." Out of nowhere. It was pretty awesome. That's the first.
That's incredible.
Recognized in the wild. That doesn't happen every day.
Should we get some caps? Should we do it? Should we do hats, Rob?
I was thinking, so Jamal's hat with the small logo, like doing that sort of look with the, I like the rope thing on the top of the bill as well.
Ooh, maybe one in that style with our MK Ultra specific version of Franz Peckenpower. By the way, did you see that somebody was saying that we should have something about Franz Peckenpower was developed by Pep Guardiola, which I thought was
Pep Guardiola was great.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. All right. Anyway, sorry, that's off topic.
One of our ultras actually named their rooster. I think they had chickens or roosters on their property and named one Hans Peckenpower. So
really, Franz Peckenpower is good.
The empire is growing into the farming world. But are you checking on you're checking on availabilities on things?
No, I was checking on whether there are any unfulfilled orders at the moment. I don't know if there's any unclaimed memberships. I was also trying to check that. I don't think so. I think probably all of those have been claimed. Okay. I'm trying right now. I'm trying to log into Fourth Wall and I'm having an issue because I'm multitasking. But there you go.
But we're getting some requests for merch, scarf on a number of ultras suggesting scarves, ball here as well, and then the big front panel cap with Franz on the side. That's an interesting spin. I like on it, but scarves definitely seem to be a popular pick. So we'll have to marinate on that. And then let's set a date for the second ever Kickathon as well. But thank you for all the comments. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to our guest. Until next time, we should be back on Wednesday morning. We are live on YouTube, Morning Kickaround channel, streaming live 9:30 Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we'll see you next time. Stay safe, remain brave, and enjoy your soccer.